Steve 2900 on Instagram, and you tuning in to Baltimore Basics.
I'm Wheelie Wayne, Raise It Up CEO, tuning in to Baltimore Basics. You know, mine start from a long time ago, from Montgomery Ward mini bikes, pull string bikes. It starts from there, you know, riding up and down the alley, begging for rides from my uncles. You know, it kept graduating, getting bigger, get a little bit more bigger. Of course, you know, then it transformed from the mini bikes to actual dirt bikes. Could never get one. Mother would never let me get one, so of course, you know, my uncles and them had them. I had to ride their bikes, sneak them off the porch when they go to bed at night, ride them up and down the alley, whatever I had to do. The closest I could get to getting my own was when my mother go shopping. She would let me go to the bike store while she's in the other store and just sit on the bikes, until one day I actually started saving my lunch money and bought my own, and had to lie to her and tell her my uncle paid for it so that she wouldn't know where it came from. It just kept graduating. You know, the more older you got, the better you got, the more talent came around, the more people you seen come and go, the more friends you made, the more neighborhoods you got combined to. It just kept getting bigger. It kept growing, and it's still growing to this day. It got to a point where, though, all the older riders, they basically retired, you know, started doing other things. I kept going. I always seen a bigger picture in it, you know, from my uncles. I always had all the top riders and everybody in the backyard with him. I always seen a bigger picture, but he was never the type to be in the limelight. He just wanted to be behind the scenes. So I just kept taking that and raising the bar. Linked up some other people. You know, we started a YouTube thing with was called United Trenches. Matter of fact, did the United Trenches video. I had the first dirt bike street video to ever get over 1 million views. That sparked it off. That's when YouTube first came around. So when that sparked it off, everybody was running in the house to watch YouTube videos and make YouTube videos. United Trenches went, you know, we had 12 O'Clock Boyz, VHS tape, DVD. Bumped into a guy, Buddha, who wanted to start something, that's what we created, Raise It Up. We created to Raise It Up. He basically didn't want anything more to do with it. Left it to me. I took over. I kept seeing bigger pictures, bigger lights. I kept raising the bar, raising the more stakes. Buddha was actually brought to me from Steve, from this guy. He brought him to me. He brought him to my attention. But he bowed. Like I said, he bowed out. I took over it, made it more popular. It was already popular, don't get me wrong, but I just kept it going.
And I started out my first bike, I had a Z50. My very first bike, I had a Z50. It was actually given to me by my older cousin. So he had bought it for his son. He had actually bought it for his stepson. And stepson wasn't really into it, so my little cousin was like, I ain't worried about that. And it sat for years. And then one day I just went and got it. Once I started, you know, getting introduced to the culture and everything, I took it and got it, and then somebody came through and they fixed it for me. They cleaned the carburetor or whatever, and it was over from there. So that was my first bike, the Z50. I used to ride it to my grandmother's house to go get like groceries or whatever the case may be. And you know, I just got turned out even more. So just like in the sense of what Wayne was saying, I started saving my money as well, and I ended up buying another bike, a better bike, and I sold that bike and bought a better bike. And I think probably about the third bike, that's when I got introduced to Wayne. So it was a guy around my way, God rest his soul, his name was Q. He got killed a few years back. Q introduced me to Wayne. I was riding my KX 125 at the time. I had an old, like an 89, but it was real clean. Riding an old 89, and I rolled past him and he flagged it out. Like, yo, where you going? I'm like, man, just riding around. He's like, yo, I'm about to go get my bike. And I go get my bike. I mean, he go get his bike, met back up with him, and he took me straight up Wayne's house. So it was me, Q, and Wayne, and we just cruising around, just playing around. And that was my first time getting chased by the helicopter. Wayne told me, like, yo, don't panic, just be calm. Like, don't worry about him. Worry about what cars that he gonna send to you. And we rode straight down Mulberry Street and went and got in the middle of traffic of Martin Luther King. And ever since then, like, that's what it was. That was my first official introduction to him and, you know, to the streets.
I can recall when I was young, you know, I used to sit on the porch of my grandma's house. Like I said, all the top riders, all the big names, they used to be up there. My uncle used to fix all their bikes. But you had one particular rider who used to stick out. Got a little net. He was like roughly probably 4 or 5 years ahead of the game on the bike. He was doing one hands and 12 o'clocks and all kinds of slow wheelies and stuff before anybody else even knew what he was doing yet. You had certain names back then, they was the only people in the city who really can wheelie. You had like Mars, you had Lulu, Fatty, Net, KX, and Brian from down Warwick, and DJ Concrete. They was the only people in the city who actually knew how to wheelie dirt bikes. Everybody else was just basically riding them back then. You had a couple other riders, big names like Desi, Dick, Tyree. They used to all come up Emerson Avenue in formations. Like, it was just so amazing when you was a kid and I ain't had one. I just sit on the porch and videotape or watch them. And then it's like to watch all of them go down. And then I start getting up. They still call me Lil Wayne to this day. If I bump into them, they be like, Lil Wayne, you still riding bikes, Lil Wayne. Yo, that's crazy. You still at it. And it's just, some of these kids nowadays, they'll never know the history of some of that stuff back then. That's one of the things I be trying to teach the youth now. I be trying to teach them the history. And like back then, you ain't really cared too much about who was nicer than who, all that type of stuff. You didn't have the police confusion that we have now. You didn't have the laws that they made just for dirt bikes. Back then, it was, if they confiscated your bike, you can actually go to the pound. The same day, the same hour. You could follow the tow truck to the pound with your paperwork and get it right back there on the scene. We actually did an article in the city paper about that, when they started confiscating bikes and not giving them back compared to when they used to give them back. And they city actually lost, it was something like $1.5 million from not giving us the bike back.
They rather
pay to crush them than to make money and just return them to the owners. It's like all these people that I named was all like, we're gonna say bosses. They was all bosses in their neighborhoods. So right there, we just proves you how much bikes squash beefs. Because these people would not have known each other and probably would have been beefing with each other if they didn't ride together. And to this day, that's how it goes on. Like, he was in a whole different neighborhood. A whole neighborhood like that I probably would have never associated with. But by me riding bikes, we had a mutual friend, we met each other, and look at us now. We like family now.
Yep. Which is true. Like, he's schooling me. Straight schooling me too. Like, yo, just pay attention. Don't do this, don't do that. You know, and then went on from there, he gave me his number, and he still got the same number to this day. The same number to this day. So, but you know, just it was always like a coaching thing, a big brother, like, and from the beginning to the end. And like, once I started getting more active, I went and bought like a RM85. And while we riding, he would coach me. He would talk to me while I'm wheeling. He was like, all right, drop the bike back. All right, slow it down. All right, now you good. 12. And he's like, well, you got it. I don't got to say nothing else to you. And lo and behold, I just started picking up. Like, you would watch him, I would watch. lips. I would watch, other riders that was better than me. And you just take little bits and pieces from everybody and you do your own thing. That's how you create your own style. But you, at the end of the day, it's going to come from somebody else. It's somebody else going to spark you to be like, damn, I could do that. Or I could do it better. You know what I'm saying? But he always was teaching. And after that, I remember that we was coming down Westwood and was returning on to Pop the Grill. He was like, Coach, he was like 12. Like, yo, once you 12, I don't have nothing else to teach you. Like, everything was on you. And it just grew. It just kept constantly grew. And this how I knew that he fucks with me real heavy. I'm sorry, excuse my language. But this how I knew he fucked with me real heavy. He had a Banshee. He had some Paul Turner pipes on. Right? I never rode a Banshee, so I didn't know. I rode a foiler, but I didn't know the power of a Banshee. So everybody jumping on it and just doing their thing or whatever the case may be. And let me ride that damn thing. The Banshee dragged me on a parking lot, like from one end of the parking lot to the other end.